Welcome to Tuska 2018. Not only we have Emperor here, but also Ihsahn himself with his own band, doing a gig here on Sunday. So let's get the man behind the band. Welcome again, so to speak. Let's talk about your own solo career band. Now, things are quite different from Emperor, but in which way when considering the gig and lineup?
The lineup is kind of different. I, for example, I don't have a bass player. For the most part of my latest albums, I've been using a Moog synthesizer for bass parts. We're only a 4-piece, and it's a different set of members. So that's different. But as we spoke of when we talked about Emperor, in that bubble, that is performing live, it very much feels the same for me personally.
How do the other guys feel about it? You are like masterminding two different bands, and they are basically the ones that act behind their master, so to speak.
In my live band?
Yeah, I mean the live band.
Yeah, no, I think I get to work with some really talented musicians, and kind of my music needs a certain type of player, because I do a lot of different stuff, and I need musicians that are technically able and versatile, and also great travel companions. And so I kind of work with two sets of musicians. So we're only 4 in the band, but I have like 7 or 8 people that I actually can mix and match. So I have substitutes with on every position. So oftentimes, if you see an Ihsahn show, there will be a different lineup, But
so how does working for Ihsahn, songwriting and lyrics writing differ from Emperor era?
It's probably for me personally, it's even less compromising in a way, because when you're in a band with several members, of course there's the music has to represent everyone in the band. So that kind of you respect the border limits of that to a certain degree. So as a solo artist, I get to do whatever the hell I want.
Who is your worst or best producer / critic when creating your own music? Your wife?
Absolutely, it's Heidi. She's like my secret second member in a sense, because she knows me so well. She knows when I kind of do my best work, and she knows when I'm kind of too far off target, with my experiments. So I'm very lucky like that, because sometimes it's a very, in itself, doing music is a very self-absorbent process, and you get very sucked into your own little world. So it's very nice to have a very clear and open perspective from the outside that you can trust.
Since you have been in the metal scene from early 90s or even late 80s, I guess, and the world has changed quite a bit, especially when we talk about black metal, and there's been crimes, arsons, and all that stuff. And you have had your friends and families, but how supportive they have been throughout the years, or has it been more, say, friendly later years when the crimes and all that stuff are in the past, or do they still haunt you in the past? I mean.
No, I don't notice it really much anymore. I think to me, I think it's been just a very interesting process, though, to behold, because all the different times and the aspects of that aside, I think it's been interesting to see that the albums did not change, and say we were criticizing, people assumed, and hence they told, oh, this is the horrible lyrics and blah blah blah. And I would argue that with some of my solo albums, I would say they were even more, critical and probably more to the point than some of these fantasy lyrics we had in the early Emperor albums. But no one cares, because then they've decided that it's okay. So it seems there's a kind of an outside perspective that we changed very much, But to me, I've just been doing the same thing all along, and just people's perception of what I do has changed. Obviously, I've changed very much since I was 16, 17. Hopefully, it would be very sad otherwise for most people, I think. But no, it's the most interesting part of that. That tension is really been to absorb and observe really how people and local communities relate to it. And the biggest difference for them, I think, was the amount of success and sales. When they understood it was kind of a success, there was money involved and all this. Suddenly, it's great. They want to be part of it. So it's nothing of what we ever did or represented really mattered. It was only the success in many ways.
Talking about money a little bit, does money corrupt or, say, help creating and upkeeping the music such as yours in the first place? Is it an enemy or kind of a threat or possibility kind of thing?
It depends on I think it's like that with all creative work, that a lot of creative work, whether it's with music or with film or whatever, in the end might represent some recognition or fame, and with that, sometimes there's money involved, and I think a lot of people misunderstand and are drawn to these expressions because of that attention. I think for many of the Norwegian black metal bands and ourselves, in Emperor, included, I think I would say you could argue that we did very little to be liked. Quite the contrary. So the driving force, I think, the making money out of this, having budgets for doing the productions and the studio work that needs to be done, and hire the right people, and having the means to make this our living, so that we could actually spend all that time doing, this work, obviously is very important. But I think the creative driving force for doing that, I think making money out of this is a consequence of being really passionate about what we do. It's not the other way around. It's not like doing music to make money. I think there are so many other ways of work that are so much easier to make money.
Right, fair enough. So, talking about a little bit of lyrics, once you get older, you usually have more experience and wisdom in life. But has it helped you creating lyrics, or is it actually harder now that you know so much more about life and whatever?
I think lyrics has always been a hard part, because music, it comes, at least for me, it comes very natural. But lyrics has always been a struggle, because when writing lyrics, for me, they also have to, in a way, be musical. It's just not just words that rhyme or anything. It's hard to explain. But I found that when I look back, especially now that I've kind of re-sung a lot of the lyrics that I wrote when I was a teenager, with the Emperor shows and everything, I see I kind of come back to many of the kind of the core questions and core crisis, if you will, and that's also something that I've been more aware of in all these years. I've been doing this. That every new album and every new song I do, whether with my own stuff and back with Emperor, it's just another attempt of kind of create this certain ideal, and it's a very abstract artistic goal, and it probably sounds very, very arrogant to say that. In a way, it's one of those things that are hard to explain, but it's kind of a core feeling to me that is black metal, and it's all the albums and all the songs are kind of just different ways of trying to recreate that core atmosphere.
Well, that brings me to one of the last questions. And now you know that Norwegian scene is, quite commercialized. I mean, there are at least these kind of a blackpacker tours when people are brought to places of interest regarding the black metal era, and people are basically doing tourism black metal. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, each to its own. You know, we get all these requests to do. You know, someone's doing another book or a documentary about black metal, and some people find I can understand from an outside view that you know historically or like a cultural phenomenon that it's interesting. Personally, I'm not very nostalgic about that at all. So I never really get involved in projects that with that angle. You know, so I still get to. I'm just in my early 40s, you know, so I still get to do the music I love. So I'll just focus on that.
All right. One last question is, what kind of music inspires you nowadays the most?
I'm a really big fan of great music and not so keen on bad music. That's the only two genres I really relate to these days. So I listen to anything, you know.
Thank you. This is an awesome answer to not so awesome question. But the thing is, listen to the good music. Don't worry about genres or boxing or labeling. Use your mind. Be open-minded. And
thank you so much for support. Thank you, Tuska.
Thank you. And have a good tour.
Thank you very much.